going right away to the poems of Ryokan. What's Ryokan? Ryokan's it's called Ryokan Dewdrops on a Lotus Leaf. Hachisu no Tsuyu. This is translated by John Stevens. Ryokan is a Zen Soto Zen poet. He also is good and known for calligraphy. The years are, this is not as old as, I don't know how he compares to Basho, but he's 1758 to 1831. Nowhere as old as like Seigyo. He's more recent. But anyways, his poems, we go right to the poems. He says, "Who says my poems are poems? My poems are not poems. When you know that my poems are not poems, then we can speak of poetry." Anyways, this one,
I read it.
I don't understand.
All my comments.
It's you what? Your comments? You told. What's your comment?
I don't remember.
You don't remember your comment?
You don't remember. I said it sounds like he doesn't write. He doesn't like poetry.
He probably doesn't.
Actually, he thinks of his poems very, not very, not much of his poems in a way.
He doesn't take them so seriously, or they could be written spontaneously or something in there.
So that keeps
I'll leave that and come back to it.
Maybe poetry
I don't
is
know.
something for him that's beyond poetry.
These must be the poems. I don't know what this is. It says, "It's a pity, a gentleman in refined retirement composing poetry. He models his work on the classic verse of China, and his poems are elegant, full of fine phrases. But if you don't write of things deep inside your own heart, what's the use of churning out so many words?"
I think that's right.
Hmm?
That's very right. Maybe if he
Yeah,
didn't do that,
he's
it's not poetry.
well. Remember, he's a bit. He's not a kind of a nonconformist, so he goes off. They actually ask him to head up a temple or something, and then there's some other guys reforming the Soto Zen, and they don't quite get along. He goes off. He doesn't become an abbot.
Let's read it. Let's read his poem.
He's more like a wanderer, like Seigyo or Basho. He becomes independent. Well, all right. Want me to read it again?
Read the poem.
It's a pity, a gentleman in refined retirement composing poetry. He models his work on the classic verse of China, and his poems are elegant, full of fine phrases. But if you don't write of things deep inside your own heart, what's the use of churning out so many words?
Yeah, it's like the exterior appearances. It's like the guys in the fine clothes. They keep up appearances.
He's probably a serious writer. When I was a lad, I sauntered about town as a gay blade, sporting a cloak of the softest down and mounted on a splendid chestnut-colored horse. During the day I galloped to the city. At night I got drunk on peach blossoms by the river. I never cared about returning home, usually ending up with a big smile on my face at the pleasure pavilion. Now they say he had a bit of a wild youth before he became all this, becoming a monk. So he had a bit of a good time. I think these poets that have a have a double life, have a good time before they become monks. They're a little more colorful, right? Remember how Seigyo had his girlfriend in the capital? Want me to read that one again? Or you get it? Thinking back, I recall my days at Etsuji and the solitary struggle to find the way. Carrying firewood reminded me of Layman Ho. When I polished rice, the sixth patriarch came to mind. I was always first in line to receive the master's teaching, and never missed an hour of meditation. 30 years have flown by since I left the green hills and blue sea of that lovely place. What has become of all my fellow disciples? And how can I forget the kindness of my beloved teacher? The tears flow on and on, blending with the swirling mountain stream. Layman Ho was a Zen teacher. One of his famous sayings was, miraculous power, miraculous, marvelous activity, drawing water, chopping wood. The sixth patriarch refers to Ino Funyin, who was once worked as a rice polisher in a monastery. So when he recalls his day at Ansu, I think he was a Zen monk or something in Ansu. I just briefly read over the intro. So he's recalling his days as a Zen monk before he's still one, but he left the formality. You want me to read that again? Okay. You get it. Returning to my native village after many years' absence, ill I put up at a country inn and listened to the rain. One robe, one bowl is all I have. I light incense and strain to sit in meditation. All night a steady drizzle outside the dark window. Inside, poignant memories of these long years of pilgrimage. So he was also a minimalist, probably, with his one robe and one bowl. Not exactly a lot of clutter.
You couldn't have more than that in a temple.
Oh, he's also traveling. He's big. He says he returned to his village. How much can you carry with you?
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to carry all your stuff? Back then, I don't know what you had. Maybe a donkey. He had a donkey. Or some of them, if they were richer, they had a servant or a helper. Basho maybe had helpers and stuff, but he was maybe more prestigious or something. Basho had money and stuff. But anyways, we go on. He says, to my teacher. We're reading from Ryokan. It's Dewdrops on a Lotus leaf. To my teacher, an old grave hidden away at the foot of a desert hill, overrun with rank weeds growing unchecked year after year. There is no one left to tend the tomb, and only an occasional woodcutter passes by. Once I was his pupil, a youth of shaggy hair, learning deeply from him by the narrow river. One morning I set off on my solitary journey, And the years pass between us in silence. Now I've returned to find him at rest here. How can I honor his departed spirit? I pour a dipper of pure water over his tombstone and offer a silent prayer. The sun suddenly disappears behind the hill, and I'm enveloped by the roar of the wind in the pines. I try to pull myself away, but cannot. A flood of tears soaks my sleeves. I don't know if this is the same poem, but I'll continue. In my youth, I put aside my studies. I aspired to be a saint, living austerely as a mendicant monk. I wandered here and there for many springs. Finally, I returned home to settle under a craggy peak. I lived peacefully in a grass hut, listening to the birds for music. Clouds are my best neighbors. Below a pure spring where I refresh body and mind. Above, towering pines and oaks that provide shade and brushwood. Free, so free, day after day. I never want to leave. You can get happy living in a hut in the woods. You have pine trees and a spring. How's this happen?
Why do you think they enjoyed it, Basho and Taigu also?
Yeah, it's quite beautiful, dear. And we figured out Segyo, you ask what he eats, and he was collecting water dripping down from the mountain, and he was getting horse chestnuts. Who knows? There's a lot of food in nature. Here's a picture of Ryokan's hermitage deep in the woods of Mount Gami. There's his hut. You see his hut? See the little picture? I don't know. He's got a little hut surrounded by pines. It's very cool. Where's the spring though? It says go on. Go on. It's the name of his hermitage. Next poem. If someone asks my abode, I reply, the east edge of the Milky Way. Like a drifting cloud bound by nothing, I just let go, giving myself up to the whim of the wind. Whoever says that they live on the east end of the Milky Way, that's funny. I wonder what edge. There is no east of the Milky Way, is there? Could you say, where is east? Which side is east on the Milky Way?
The same side.
Is it the left side or the right side or the bottom? Is there? If someone asks my abode, I reply, the east edge of the Milky Way. Like a drifting cloud bound by nothing, I just let go, giving myself up to the whim of the wind. I'm going to have to. It's amazing how fast 15 minutes goes. We were reading from The Dewdrops on a Lotus Leaf by Ryokan, who is translated by John Stevens, a Zen poet of Japan.